Hello everyone, welcome to this week's edition of EN Explains. My name is Don Gibson. This week is part 2 of our 5-part series on electrification. This week we have with us Ellie Lynch. Now Ellie is our Director of Data Analytics at EN Engineering. Ellie is going to be speaking with us today about spatial electrification forecasting. So Ellie, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
So Ellie, what is spatial electrification forecasting and why is it important?
Adoption of electric technology for a variety of applications, from electrifying the heating in buildings, either commercial or residential, to adopting electric vehicles, is going to have a great impact on our power grid. If you think about traditional, power usage, historically they've been tied to a location and they're pretty easy to project because a household will use a certain amount at a given time of year and you can forecast what that will look like based on population changes. As other types of technologies are adopted, predominantly electric vehicles, the ability to project where and when that load will be applied to the grid is significantly more complicated. And so spatial electrification forecasting is the use of publicly available data and forecasting data to project the likelihood of adoption of electrification technology, whether that's electric vehicles or building electrification for heating, those sorts of technologies, and then projecting what the impact of those loads will be on the power systems from a supply and demand perspective.
So thanks for that explanation, Ellie. So how is all this accomplished?
So there are two key components that need to be understood and measured through publicly available data or through the utility-owned data in order to accurately forecast or truly project the spatial impact of electrification on the power grid. And the first component is the saturation of that technology or the adoption of that technology. How many vehicles, I'm going to continue using the EV example, how many vehicles have been adopted so far? Where are their homes, so to speak, and what is the volume of ones that are going to be adopted in the next year, the next 5 years. The other part of this is the spatial temporal loading model, which takes the adoption and saturation analysis and applies it to the specific feeder level of the grid. And that's really looking at where and when is that technology load being applied to the system, which is different from our traditional modeling of the standard cooling heating curves based on time of day and time of year. For instance, think of the difference between a Tuesday loading projection, people are traveling to and from work or working from home, versus a Sunday when they might be out and about running errands. That loading model is going to be very different.
So how is this going to affect the average electric utility?
As electric vehicles and building electrification increases, utilities may have to implement managed charging programs or restrict power to ensure the reliability of the system and resiliency of the system if they have not expanded system capacity to meet the increasing demand in the right locations. It's not just demand across the entire service territory, it's really tied to key geographic regions.
And finally, how can EN help utilities with spatial electrification forecasting?
By pairing our power systems planning and data solutions expertise, EN has developed a number of preliminary models that forecast the impact of electrification upon the power grid in time-dependent spatial models that apply the projected loads to a granular feeder level of the power system. EN can work with our partner utilities to tailor these existing models to their system, leveraging the studies they've already done and their internal information, as well as the publicly available data that's guiding from traffic patterns to business regions to help evaluate the likelihood of these loads moving and being applied in certain areas of the system.
So Ellie, thanks again for being with us today and helping us to better understand electrification and the forecasting that goes along with it. For those of you watching online, please feel free to like or comment in order to be entered into a contest to win a gift card. So Ellie, thanks again. Have a great week and stay safe.